Welcome everyone to my Halloween special build. Very excited for this one. I had a lot of ideas for Halloween, but my favorite one is this graveyard that we're making. This is actually going to be the graveyard for my Very Veggie Let's Play series. So all of our uh, generations eventually will end up here. So I was really building with them in mind. I'm starting off in the back. I was thinking about putting some crypts back here. That is going to change. I'm keeping the one here in the middle that I'm working on currently, but you'll see in a minute here, these other two are going to disappear. This graveyard actually does come with a little something extra special, and I'll let you know what that is when we start getting to that point. So Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. Of course, I have a lot of favorite holidays. Any holiday where I get to decorate up the house, and right now my house is completely decked out for Halloween, which is right around the corner, and I'm always sad when it goes because then I have to take my decorations down. But right now, my house is a fun place to be because it is decked out for Halloween. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of graveyard builds, and mine might be a little different just because it has that special feature to it, and because I'm purposely making it for my generation's family. But I also have a little insight into graveyards. I used to work in a graveyard for 6 years. Everybody always said, "Oh, you work in a graveyard." Well, we didn't really call it a graveyard per se. It was actually considered, or what the company liked to consider it, it was a memorial park. So we didn't have headstones above ground like I will have in this graveyard. Ours were all flat to the ground. And it was actually considered more of a park atmosphere. So all of the lawns were well manicured, the trees were all well kept, the flowers were kept in vases. It was actually a very nice, beautiful place to be. A lot of people would come and take their evening walks there, and it was actually a very calm and nice place to be. So I kind of wanted to go in that direction with my own graveyard here, make it more like that. Not on the spooky side, but more on the calm, relaxing vibe where you can come and remember your family. And I think that fits my vibe more than on the spooky side. Um, can't say that we didn't have any guests when I was working at the graveyard, because we did. I worked in the mausoleum. You would be surprised how much paperwork goes into burying somebody. My main job, although I had a lot of hats, my main job was just to make sure that the right person got in the right space. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into that, and there's even more paperwork when you don't get it right. So you definitely want to make sure you get it right the first time, and trust me, the family really appreciates when you get it right the first time. But I did work in the mausoleum. Not like this kind of mausoleum. The mausoleum I worked in, people were actually buried in there. So full caskets right in the walls, right surrounding the office, right where I worked. Right in the walls were the caskets of the deceased. Um, and also urns. We had a lot of, we have, the place is still there. I'm not, but the place is still there. They still have a lot of urns in curio cabinets and things like that, and people come to visit. It's a very nice building. And not just the living visited. We had a lot of the non-living visiting. I remember when I first started working there. I was new to the whole thing, of course, and we would be sitting in the office, and I would hear a thumping noise coming from the vault where we kept all of our files and things, and there were filing cabinets in there. But you could hear this thumping noise coming from one of the filing cabinets, and I would look around, and nobody seemed to even care or notice, or they were used to the sound. And I thought, well, maybe that's just the sound in this building. I didn't know what it was. And so I didn't think anything of it at first, but then I was actually in the vault and heard the thumping noise, which kind of shocked me. I kind of stood still in my tracks for a minute, and my coworker, she come in and she says, "Oh, is Mr. Gilbertson bothering you?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And she's like, "Mr. Gilbertson, he's in that filing cabinet." And I was like, again, "Excuse me? What?" And she says, "Yeah, Mr. Gilbertson was in the filing cabinet. His urn was in the filing cabinet, not him himself. And he just was a part of the daily routine around there, which now I understand, but his family could not agree on his burial. So it ended up being that nobody would take responsibility for Mr. Gilbertson to be buried. So he was in our filing cabinet. His urn was in our filing cabinet. And I didn't think he wanted to be there. So, after a while, and, we all kind of, I got used to hearing him, same as everybody else. And one day we were sitting there, and I asked my coworker, I said, "Does it have to be in the filing cabinet? Does he have to be in the filing cabinet? Can't we, put him out here on one of the shelves?" I said, "I don't think he likes it in there." And she said, "No, he has to stay in the vault, but, it didn't necessarily have to be in the filing cabinet. That's just kind of where he ended up." So we took him out. We took him out of the filing cabinet. We put him on the shelf in the vault. We actually took the time to explain to him that, as much as we would like him out of the vault, he has to stay there. It's a secure place for him to be until his family comes. And so we put him on the shelf, and not much longer after that, Mr. Gilbertson decided he could wander out of the vault on his own. As long as the door was open, he would come out in the office, and he would hang out with us during the day. I don't know what he did at night. I was, after work hours, I went home. But we always knew he was kind of around. We knew things, were moved on our desk. He was always checking things out, checking out the computers. I don't know if he died before there was computers or after, but he liked checking ours out. So he did that. And it wasn't a big deal. He just hung out with us. And I think he was a lot happier. Obviously, thumping went away because he was out. And he was much happier being out in the office with us. So you can see we're making some progress. on our graveyard here. I was making sure that there were enough of these type of graves for for my 10 generations, and then there'll be other obviously headstones for different generations. So this is our little secret, and I'm just giving it a little start. But right behind these headstones is some secret ladders going down to our underground lair, and that actually is going to be in part two of this Halloween build. This is part one, and you're going to get to see that underground lair in part two. So hit that subscribe button. I really don't want you to miss. It's a good build. I think you're going to love it. And it makes this lot very versatile. So you can have this lot as a cemetery lot in the game, which I'm going to do for my Generations family, or you can have it as a residential spooky lot and live underground here. So both ways, this graveyard, this lot works both ways. It's great. I had a lot of fun doing this. Had a lot of fun finishing up some more here in the mausoleum. This is not the, like I said, not the kind of mausoleum I worked in. Ours was all white marble, all glass curio cabinets, really high-tech kind of place. So not spooky at all. I don't know if people realize that that's a real job. I didn't know it was a real job until I saw it I actually saw it. Where did I see it? Did I see it online? I was at another job that I just hated. I really, ugh, you just don't even want to get up and go to work kind of job. So I was kind of always looking. And I saw this. I think it was online somewhere, it had to be. And I thought, who works in a graveyard? What the heck kind of job is that? And at first I didn't even think about it applying. And then one day I just was like, what the heck? Why not? What's the worst that could happen? And actually, the worst that could happen was I got the job. So that wasn't the worst thing. I was there for 6 years. I was very happy there. Great coworkers. We had a lot of fun. We actually had a lot of parties. We had good times. We had very good times. I remember one time, my coworker and I were out in the Gator, and we were out in the park. We were marking lots for burials. You have to flag them. And she was driving the Gator. I wasn't paying attention. I was just looking around. And she says, "Do you see that guy?" And I looked. And I was like, "What guy?" And she says, "The guy standing over there by the woods." And I was like, "I don't see no guy." And she says, "Oh, well, he was there." She said he was standing there with a bike. And I was like, well, that's weird, because we were kind of at the back of the park by the woods where, you really couldn't get with a bike. So I said, well, drive over there. Let's go check out who he is. So we did. We parked and we got out of the Gator and we walked right over to where she said he was standing. And there was nobody there. And I said, "Yeah, you're just pulling my leg." And she says, "No, I swear, I saw somebody standing there leaning up against his bike. He had like a mountain bike or something." I was like, "Yeah, whatever." She says, "Well, let's go through here. Maybe he went right on the other side of the woods. There was kind of like this clearing." And she said, "Well, maybe he went through here. Let's go check it out." So, we weren't scared or anything. Obviously, we kind of lived with Mr. Gilbertson, so having ghosts around was not, and we weren't freaked out or anything, but we went and we looked, and right on the other side of the trees, all we saw were old abandoned railroad tracks. And we went and stood right in the middle of the tracks, and we looked up and down and up and down, and I kept telling her, you, you're just yanking my chain here, you're pulling my leg. You didn't see anything. She's like, no, 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 I saw him. And I tell you, even to this day, and this is like, I can tell you this is like 7 years later, and we're still good friends. But you ask her to this day, she will swear up and down that she saw a guy with his bike. And I did not see it, but she swears by it, and I want to believe her because it happened all the time. But, you know, I don't know if it was the railroad tracks or the woods, or I don't know. I don't know why there would be a guy standing there holding on to his bike. So I don't. It was just a weird kind of day, but we were relatively used to it around that place. Lots of noises and bumps, and things were moved or would go missing. Oh yeah, that's right. Now I remember. She actually accused me of stealing her favorite pen. I was like, I did not touch your favorite pen. I think she ran around for a month. And then she was just accusing everybody of stealing her favorite pen. I'm like, who has a favorite pen? I didn't get it. And I said, well, I didn't take your pen, and I didn't take her pen. But she swears somebody took her pen. And when, in the end, I'm like, well, who probably took your pen? And she's like, yeah. And she called him that, the F word. And I said, well, that's not a nice thing about Mr. Gilbertson, but maybe he was his favorite pen too. So things would disappear and not to be found. Don't know where the pen went either. I don't know. I think she had more experiences, I want to call them, than I did. I mean, I had mine. You'd be down in one of the corridors, and you would just hear things. Oh, there was one down. It was called the Chapel of Faith. That was the area. Each area was named something, and it was down there. And I heard music playing, like old time music. I would say like 20s or 30s type music, older music. It was nice. It was very sweet, kind of, I want to say lyrical. It was nice. It was just some nice music, and I actually was kind of bebopping around while I was, doing my job. It was nice. I don't know who was playing music. Sometimes I would ask. Sometimes I didn't care. I just had my job to do, and a lot of times I would tell them straight out. I was like, you know what? I got to be here for like 5 minutes. I got this thing I got to do, and then I'm out of your hair. You can, go about your business, and I'll go about mine. So a lot of people, they'll say, oh, do you believe in ghosts? I was like, yeah, I believe in ghosts. I totally do. I actually believe in the science behind ghosts. The fact that we're pure energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. So yeah, I do believe in ghosts. I have firsthand knowledge. I grew up with them. I worked with them. So I'm okay with them. I hope they're okay with me. I hope they're okay with me telling you my stories. So it looks like we're coming to the end of this part of the build. Like I said, this is part 1 of 2. The next part will be the secret underground lair. I think it turned out wonderful. It's in that grubby, industrial, underground lair vibe is what it has. And I think it turned out great. I mean, it's like one of my favorite things is doing that style of build. I did that when I did my zombie builds. So it's kind of that style of build. Love doing those. So I just put a few things on these back headstones here. I figured this will be what a couple of these back here will be, you know, my first couple generations, and we'll fill up the park eventually. There is a part there for the pets. And this is where we're gonna end today. So again, subscribe so you can see part 2, and we'll have some more ghost stories. Keep it creative, keep it cozy. I'll see you soon.